Have you ever felt deep within your soul that you're meant for something more? That beyond the daily routines, the endless to-do lists, and the constant demands of ordinary life, there's a calling waiting for you. Something that would make your heart sing and your spirit come alive. Maybe it's that quiet voice that whispers in moments of stillness, telling you that your life has a purpose far greater than you've dared to imagine. Or perhaps it's that restless feeling that no matter how much you achieve or accumulate, there's still something missing, something essential that you haven't yet stepped into. What if I told you that this longing you feel isn't just wishful thinking or spiritual fantasy, but actually your soul recognizing its true function? What if that sense of being called to something greater is exactly what it appears to be? A divine invitation to step into one of the most important roles you could ever fulfill in this lifetime. Today, we're going to explore one of the most transformative concepts from A Course in Miracles, the function of the miracle worker. And before you start thinking this is only for special people, spiritual teachers, or those who've somehow made it on their spiritual journey, let me be clear. This calling is for you. Yes, you, exactly as you are with all your doubts, your imperfections, your fears, and your beautiful, messy humanity. You might be watching this because you've always felt drawn to helping others, but weren't sure how to do it authentically. Maybe you're someone who lights up when you see others experience breakthrough moments, or you feel most alive when you're facilitating healing, growth, or connection in some way. Perhaps you're a parent, teacher, counselor, healthcare worker, or simply someone who naturally finds themselves in situations where people open up and share their deepest struggles with you. Or maybe you're here because you've been studying A Course in Miracles, and something about this concept of miracle work both excites and intimidates you. You might be wondering, am I ready for this? Do I have what it takes? How can I be a miracle worker when I'm still working on my own healing, my own forgiveness, my own relationship with fear and love? Here's what makes this conversation different from typical discussions about service, helping others, or even spiritual work. We're not talking about adding another responsibility to your already full plate. We're not discussing how to fix other people's problems or become some kind of spiritual superhero. Instead, we're exploring how to recognize and step into a function that's actually as natural to you as breathing, because it's literally what you were created for. The Course teaches that being a miracle worker isn't about developing new skills or achieving some elevated state of consciousness. It's about remembering who you already are and allowing that truth to guide your interactions with the world. It's about understanding that every encounter you have, every conversation, every moment of connection is an opportunity for healing, not just for others, but for yourself as well. Throughout this exploration, you'll discover why the traditional ways we think about helping others often miss the mark entirely, and how true miracle work actually operates from a completely different paradigm. You'll learn why your own healing journey isn't a prerequisite you need to complete before you can serve others, but actually an integral part of your service. And you'll understand how the simple act of seeing others with love instead of judgment can literally change lives, including your own. We're going to explore 3 essential aspects of this calling together. First, we'll uncover what it truly means to be a miracle worker according to A Course in Miracles. And it's probably not what you think. Then, we'll dive into the inner preparation that allows you to function authentically in this role, without burning out or losing yourself in the process. Finally, we'll discuss how this spiritual function translates into your actual daily life, relationships, and work. What you're about to discover will challenge everything our culture teaches about helping, serving, and making a difference in the world. It will invite you to consider that perhaps the greatest contribution you can make isn't through doing more, but through being more present, more loving, more willing to see the truth in others, even when they can't see it in themselves. Whether you're someone who's always known you wanted to dedicate your life to service, or you're just beginning to sense that you might have something valuable to offer the world, this exploration is designed to meet you wherever you are. No special credentials are required, no particular level of spiritual attainment, just an open heart and a willingness to consider that you might be more powerful, more needed, and more perfectly equipped for your purpose than you ever imagined. So take a moment to settle in, open your mind to new possibilities, and prepare to discover the extraordinary function that's been waiting for you all along. Let me start with something that might completely shift how you think about miracles. Being a miracle worker has absolutely nothing to do with walking on water, healing the blind, or performing supernatural feats that defy the laws of physics. I know that might be disappointing if you were hoping to develop superpowers, but what I'm about to share with you is actually far more extraordinary and infinitely more accessible than any magic trick could ever be. Here's what A Course in Miracles teaches that will blow your mind. You are already performing miracles every single day, and most of the time, you don't even realize it. Every moment when you choose to see someone with love instead of judgment, every time you respond with patience instead of irritation, every instance when you offer genuine presence to another human being. These are miracles. They're shifts in perception that literally change the energy of every interaction and create ripples of healing that extend far beyond what you can see. But here's where most people get confused about what it means to be called as a miracle worker. They think it's about becoming some kind of spiritual helper or professional healer. They imagine they need to quit their day job, get certified in something mystical, or somehow transform themselves into a perpetually serene being who never has bad days. That's not what we're talking about at all. The miracle worker, according to the Course, is simply someone who has remembered a fundamental truth that most people have forgotten. We are all connected at the deepest level, and what heals one person heals everyone. When you function as a miracle worker, you're not trying to fix anyone or solve their problems for them. Instead, you're offering them the most precious gift imaginable, the experience of being truly seen, truly accepted, and truly loved, exactly as they are. Think about this for a moment. When was the last time someone really saw you? Not the version of you that you present to the world, not your accomplishments or your struggles, but the real you, your essence, your light, your inherent worthiness. Remember how that felt? That's what you offer as a miracle worker. You become a space where people can remember who they really are beneath all their fears, defenses, and self-doubt. This is where the Course gets revolutionary in its approach to service. Traditional helping often comes from a place of, I have something you need, or I'm strong and you're weak, so let me rescue you. But miracle work operates from a completely different understanding. I see the light in you that you may have temporarily forgotten, and I'm going to relate to that light instead of your temporary darkness. The ego absolutely hates this approach because it can't take credit for anything. When you're truly functioning as a miracle worker, you're not the one doing the healing. You're simply creating space for healing to happen naturally. You become a clear channel through which love can flow, rather than someone who's trying to manipulate outcomes or prove how helpful you are. Here's something fascinating that happens when you start to understand this. You realize that the distinction between who's helping and who's being helped completely dissolves. Every time you extend love to another person, you receive it yourself. Every moment you choose to see someone's innocence instead of their mistakes, your own sense of guilt and unworthiness gets healed. This is why the Course teaches that you teach what you most need to learn. Because in teaching love, you learn it yourself. But perhaps the most beautiful aspect of recognizing your function as a miracle worker is understanding that you don't have to be perfect to fulfill this calling. In fact, Your imperfections, your struggles, your humanity, these aren't obstacles to overcome. They're actually what makes you effective. People don't connect with perfection. They connect with authenticity. They don't need you to have all the answers. They need you to be real, present, and willing to meet them exactly where they are. The miracle worker isn't someone who has transcended all human challenges. The miracle worker is someone who has learned to hold space for both their own healing and others' healing simultaneously, understanding that they're actually the same process. Now that we understand what miracle work actually is, let's address the question that's probably burning in your mind. How do I know if I'm ready for this? And if I'm not ready, how do I prepare myself? This is where most people get stuck because they're applying the wrong criteria entirely. They think they need to achieve some kind of spiritual perfection or complete their own healing journey before they can serve others. But here's what's absolutely transformational about the Course's approach. Your readiness isn't measured by how healed you are, but by how willing you are. Let me tell you something that might surprise you. The most powerful miracle workers are often the people who are still very much in the midst of their own healing process. Why? Because they understand struggle from the inside. They know what it feels like to be lost, afraid, confused, or in pain. They're not speaking to you from some lofty mountaintop of enlightenment. They're walking beside you in the valley, and that's exactly what makes their presence so healing. The Course teaches us something profound about this. You teach what you most need to learn. This isn't some cruel cosmic joke where you're forced to help others with things you haven't figured out yourself. It's actually the most elegant design imaginable. Every time you extend love, forgiveness, or understanding to another person, you're simultaneously learning to extend it to yourself. Every moment you see past someone else's defenses to their true nature, you're training yourself to see past your own defenses. But here's where the inner preparation becomes crucial. You cannot give what you do not have. Not in terms of perfection. We've established that's not required, but in terms of your willingness to be present with what is. If you're constantly running from your own pain, judgment, or fear, you won't be able to hold space for others to experience theirs without trying to fix, change, or escape them. The first step in preparing yourself as a miracle worker is developing what I call radical self-compassion. This means learning to be with your own imperfections, your own struggles, your own humanness, with the same gentle acceptance you'd offer to a beloved friend. It means stopping the war against yourself, that constant internal dialogue that says you're not enough, not ready, not qualified, not spiritual enough. Here's something beautiful that happens when you start practicing this. You naturally become a safer space for others. When you're not constantly judging yourself, you stop projecting that judgment onto everyone around you. When you can be present with your own emotions without needing to immediately fix or change them, you develop the capacity to hold space for others' emotions in the same way. The Course also teaches us about the importance of forgiveness in preparing to be a miracle worker. But not the kind of forgiveness most people think about. We're not talking about gritting your teeth and trying to be nice to people who hurt you. Course, forgiveness is recognizing that what you thought someone did to you isn't actually what happened at all. It's understanding that everyone is either extending love or calling for love. And when someone is calling for love, even if it looks like attack, criticism, or rejection, your job is to hear the call beneath the form. This kind of forgiveness practice is essential preparation because it teaches you to see beyond appearances to truth. And that's exactly what miracle work is, seeing the truth in people when they can't see it in themselves. But you can only give this gift to others to the extent that you've been willing to receive it yourself. Another crucial aspect of inner preparation is learning to trust what the Course calls the Holy Spirit, that voice within you that knows exactly what's needed in every situation. Most of us have been trained to rely on our intellect, our planning, our strategies for helping others. But miracle work requires a different kind of intelligence, one that emerges from stillness, from listening, from being present rather than performing. The question isn't whether you're perfect. The question is whether you're willing to show up authentically, willing to be present with what is, willing to trust that love knows what to do, even when your mind doesn't have a clue. Now comes the part where everything we've discussed transforms from beautiful spiritual concepts into your actual lived experience. Because here's the truth. Miracle work doesn't happen in some special sacred space separate from your ordinary life. It happens right in the middle of your messy, complicated, wonderfully human existence, in your relationships, your workplace, your family dynamics, and yes, even in that frustrating conversation with customer service. Let me paint you a picture of what this actually looks like in practice. You're having coffee with a friend who's going through a difficult divorce. Instead of immediately jumping in with advice, solutions, or your own similar story, you find yourself simply present. You're not trying to fix anything or make their pain go away. You're just there, really there, holding space for whatever they need to express. And something magical happens. Not because you said the perfect thing, but because you offered the gift of true listening. That's miracle work in action. Or imagine you're dealing with a difficult colleague who seems to push every one of your buttons. Instead of reacting from your usual pattern of defensiveness or irritation, you take a breath and ask yourself, what would love do here? You realize that underneath their challenging behavior, this person is probably scared, insecure, or in pain. You don't become a doormat or enable inappropriate behavior, but you respond from a place of understanding rather than attack. The entire dynamic shifts, not because you manipulated the situation, but because you chose to see with love instead of fear. This is where the rubber meets the road in miracle work. It's not about what you do. It's about the consciousness you bring to what you do. You could be changing a diaper, leading a business meeting, or helping someone carry groceries, and if you're truly present and extending love, you're performing miracles. The form doesn't matter. The essence does. But here's where many well-intentioned people get tripped up. They think being a miracle worker means saying yes to everything, helping everyone who asks, and basically becoming a spiritual doormat. That's not miracle work. That's codependency wearing spiritual clothing. True miracle work sometimes looks like saying no, setting boundaries, or refusing to enable someone's victim story. The key is that these responses come from love, not from judgment or self-protection. The Course teaches us something crucial about this. You're not responsible for how people receive your miracles. Your job is to extend love authentically and then trust the process. Some people will be ready to receive what you're offering. Others won't be. Some will appreciate your presence. Others might even be irritated by it. That's not your concern. Your only job is to show up as love and let the Holy Spirit handle the results. Here's something beautiful that happens when you start living this way consistently. You begin to see miracles everywhere. That challenging person who used to trigger you becomes a teacher showing you where you still need to heal. That difficult situation that seemed like a problem becomes an opportunity to practice extending love under pressure. Your whole life becomes a classroom where you're simultaneously the student and the teacher, constantly learning how to love more fully and share that love more freely. One of the most practical aspects of living as a miracle worker is learning to trust your intuition about when to engage and when to step back. Sometimes your miracle is offering a listening ear. Other times it's simply holding someone in silent prayer. Sometimes it's speaking a truth that needs to be heard. Other times it's knowing when to remain quiet. This discernment comes not from following rules, but from staying connected to that inner guidance that always knows what love looks like, in each unique situation. And here's perhaps the most important thing to remember. Your impact as a miracle worker extends far beyond what you can see or measure. Every moment you choose love over fear, understanding over judgment, presence over distraction, you're contributing to a healing that ripples out in ways you may never know. You're proving that another way is possible. You're being the change you want to see in the world. The most practical thing you can do starting today is simply ask yourself in each interaction, how can I be love here? Not, how can I help, or how can I fix this? But how can I embody love in this moment? Trust that the answer will come, and trust that when you follow it, miracles are inevitable. What we've explored together today isn't just another spiritual concept to add to your collection of beautiful ideas. It's an invitation to step into the most fulfilling purpose you could ever imagine. We've discovered that being a miracle worker isn't about developing supernatural abilities, but about remembering the love that you already are and allowing that love to guide every interaction. We've learned that your preparation isn't about achieving perfection, but about cultivating willingness and presence. And we've seen how this sacred function can transform even the most ordinary moments of your daily life into opportunities for profound healing and connection. The truth is, the world desperately needs what you have to offer. Not the perfect version of you that you think you need to become, but you, exactly as you are right now, with your unique combination of experiences, struggles, and insights. Your willingness to show up authentically, to see others with love, and to trust that you have something valuable to contribute can literally change lives, starting with your own. If this message resonated with you today, if something shifted or awakened as we explored these ideas together, I'd be deeply grateful if you could take just a moment to let me know by hitting that like button. Your response not only helps me understand what serves you most, but it also allows this content to reach other souls who are ready to embrace their calling as miracle workers. And if you feel called to dive deeper into these life-transforming teachings from A Course in Miracles, please consider subscribing to this channel. We're building a community of miracle workers, people who are ready to see beyond fear to love, to remember their divine function, and to live from their highest purpose. There's so much more we can explore together, from other profound sections of the Course to advanced practices that can deepen your ability to serve as an agent of healing in the world. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. What resonated most deeply with you from today's exploration? Have you had moments where you recognized yourself functioning as a miracle worker, perhaps without even realizing it at the time? Or maybe you have questions about how to apply these principles in specific situations you're facing. Your sharing creates connection and reminds all of us that we're part of something much larger than our individual journeys. And if you know someone who might be ready to embrace their calling as a miracle worker, perhaps someone who's always been naturally gifted at helping others find peace, or someone who's been searching for their deeper purpose, please consider sharing this video with them. Sometimes the most loving thing we can do is help someone recognize the light they've always carried, but perhaps never fully acknowledged. Remember, stepping into your function as a miracle worker isn't about taking on more responsibilities or trying to save the world single-handedly. It's about recognizing that every interaction you have is already an opportunity to extend love, and that when you do this consistently, you become part of the healing that this world so desperately needs. Your calling is real, your purpose matters, and the love that you are has the power to create miracles in ways you're only just beginning to discover. Thank you for being here, for being open to these ideas, and for being willing to consider that you might be exactly the miracle worker that someone, somewhere, has been waiting for. Until we meet again, may you walk in the awareness of your true function. May you trust the love that moves through you. And may you know beyond any doubt that you are exactly where you need to be, doing exactly what you came here to do. with infinite love and deep appreciation for the miracle worker that you are.